All right, so yesterday I went up to the beginning of this road I've never been on before, and thought today I'd go up there and explore it after the morning's hunt, and that's what I'm about to do. And as I'm sitting here getting ready, there's a bull elk bugling his guts out in that timber over there. Kind of random. But anyways, here we go. I'm going to take you along for the ride. Let's go see what's up this mountain. Holy. Oh, you still working? Well, that wasn't overly well planned at best. No rain gear with me today, and now I'm soaked through. There's a couple bucks in here, but no doe sign. Let's see, this guy came out and worked this rub again. I think he's hit it a few times. Probably whitetail. He carried on up here. But all the tracks are really filled in. He might come through here this morning again, maybe. But this is not looking overly productive for me. You could probably get this guy if you really wanted him. It's just not enough. I beat this little tree up too. Fairly fresh. He's been here today. But not enough to get me freaked out. But the one good thing is I did just confirm a good elk hunting spot for September. We don't know unless you look, right? You gotta look. Take a lot of hunting. It'd take a lot of time to pull a buck out of here, for sure. But I already have a few spots a lot better, more promising than this, so I think we'll turn it around and head her out. Well, there you go. Took you with me on a little chunk of what I do non-stop to find new zone. You gotta go look. You gotta go look. The more you look, eventually you score. Okay, I'm out of here. Might have found a pocket without any wind, I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a minute. Man, did I get soaked earlier. Soaked right through to the skin. I didn't have a clue what that road was going to be like, that trail. You guys saw the beginning of it. I don't know, but my rain gear was back at camp. I always call it camp. And I got absolutely drenched right through, top and bottom. So I went back and got changed. Then I went to check another spot. I'm just trying to find a big buck. I think I got one nailed down. Pretty sure I do. Another spot, discovered his scrapes and huge prints today. I think I know who it is. So that's good. And then I'm over here where we're elk hunting. Sarah got her elk not too far from here. And yeah, it's not overly exciting. It's kind of warmed up. Lots of stuff is melted. The deer aren't moving. And then when I was at my truck earlier today, the new spot, I was in the box of the truck getting ready to get the quad out. And I could have swore I heard a long drawn out howl in the direction I was going to go up that mountain. I'm like, huh? You know, I don't think about that all the time at all, but there's a little bit of your brain that's always aware. It's like, oh, what was that? Oh, well, whatever. Keep going. And then all of a sudden a bull elk started screaming. Screamed his guts out maybe 10 times. Found an elk spot, just like that. Now, it's the day after the big U.S. election. A lot of people going to be happy. There's going to be a handful of people out there that are not so happy. Now, what do we got? You know how I would have, for me, from what I know, I mean, I follow everything closely. It's debatable. You can be engaged with people and debate all you want until you're purple in the face. But from what I've seen, a lot of people, when they hear the name Trump, they lash out personally to him. It's like they're personally angry at him personally. They don't look at the big picture. I don't think they look at the big picture. You know, for me to elect somebody, if I just got dropped off from a spaceship to North America, I had to look around. And then everybody delivered what's going on the planet today, all the serious problems, the wars, etc. I go, huh, well, what's that leader up in Canada? What's he doing? And I can show you a video clip. I don't know how to say videos, but I can show you a video clip of this guy up here yelling like he is Hitler, yelling into the microphone like he's just like Hitler would back in the day. And he's yelling and screaming rhetoric to support sending long-range missiles into Moscow. Okay? I'm just trying to give you an idea of how I would vote. If I got dropped off in a spaceship, I don't have any emotional sticks in the fire. I'm just going by what's really going on. And then take the next shot and show that other leader south of the border, the bad orange man, and all he's been saying 100% of the time is, I want everybody to stop dying. I can end these wars. Okay. Huh. And then you got other people, person in power, allegedly in power before him, funding wars with all your money, killing people. I'm not talking about anything else, just that fact right there. And that's easy to bring up the receipts for that, no matter how you feel personally about somebody. I don't give a shit who it is. If you got a guy throwing billions a year of money into another country and they're inside of an ocean, right, there's no threat to you, to help kill people by the hundreds of thousands. And you got a so-called leader right here where I live screaming, we need to send long-range missiles into Russia. And you got this other guy who's trying to get elected to solve everything, allegedly. And all he's been saying consistently is, I just want people to stop dying and I'm going to end the wars. What more do you need? Right? And if me sharing these little views makes you trigger to blow a gasket to get angry, you might want to go get yourself checked out. All I'm talking about, I don't give a shit who it is somebody, we finally possibly have somebody who wants to end wars. And you think, okay, well, what would make me believe he's serious? Well, apparently he was a president for 4 years previous and he didn't start a new war. Okay, you got my vote. There you go. Too easy, right? Anyway, there's a lot more receipts to go with that one, I'll tell you what. Here's an email, thinking outside the box. Hello, Steve. My name is Jim Buchanan from Southeast Michigan. You can use my name, no shame here. This is recent, real recent. My story is similar to so many others that is crazy to me. Back in 91, 92, I was camping / trail riding with a bunch of friends and family just outside Rose City, Michigan, on Heath Road, close to South Branch. Anyway, after trail riding our dune buggies all day, we sat around the bonfire drinking beers for a while. The property backed up to the Au Sable River, with a big swamp in between where we set up our campsites and the river. Okay, a couple typos because this is how it's spelled. The property backed up to the AU and then Sable River, with a big swamp in between where we set up our campsites. I think he meant at the river. So my tent was closest to the swamp. When I went to bed, I heard the screams coming from the swamp. And you know the screams I'm talking about. The woman being murdered screams. Scared me sober. Got my gun from my truck and my buddy's pit bull and got back in the tent. Never heard any more and nobody else heard them. I knew what I heard for a long time. Wind. I can't get out of this wind. Hold on a sec. There we go. I knew what I heard for a long time. Then hearing other people have the same type of encounters verified it. I still go out in the woods hunting and camping. I never heard anything again. So I was watching something on YouTube about the mimic octopus and how they change shape to look like other animals or to blend in with their surroundings. Then someone on the show mentioned that some people think the octopus may be an extraterrestrial life form. And that got me to think how people say that about Sabe. I started to think, what if Sabe didn't have bones and could change shapes to match his surroundings? Sounds like what the tribal people call a shapeshifter. What if, when they are matching their surroundings, is what people call cloaking? Also, if they haven't had any bones except maybe a jawbone with teeth, like a shark, that would explain why the bones are never found. Now, do I believe this to be the case? I'm not sure. But it got me thinking, and I hope it gets other listeners to think outside the box too. Thanks, Steve. Thank you. Appreciate you. And I'm glad you're encouraging people to think outside the box. I just like to encourage people to think. That's all I want to do. Please, everyone, think for yourself. Look into everything for yourself. Find your own receipts, but look. You never know. Who knows? I think it's all vibrational, though. I think everything vibrates. Even solid iron vibrates, right, to an extent. I don't think the bone structure has anything to do with being able to become translucent. Myself. Now the recent one. Hey Steve, heads up. This email has nothing to do with Sabe. It's for your personal puzzle, but you can feel free to share it if you decide to. Alright, man. Let her rip. I actually sent this to you a couple weeks ago, but now it's nowhere to be found. Not in my sent box, my drafts, scheduled, or outbox. I'm not sure where it could have gone, but that tells me that this is important enough to resend. I used to work for the largest publishing company in the world. The books and other forms of media that it produces are sold around the world and are required coursework by every single government-funded school in the US, Canada, and many other countries. After discovering the amount of control that this company has over the information that is distributed to the public, and seeing some important information actively blocked from distribution, I quit a job that paid. Hold on, wind. Hold on. That's got to be licking the camera. Give it a second. There we go. After discovering the amount of control that this company has over the information that is distributed to the public, and seeing some important information actively blocked from distribution, I quit a job that paid $165,000 a year because I didn't want to play any role in whatever this company was doing, even if I wasn't personally doing anything wrong. Good for you, man. I learned the following information from company files that I was not supposed to have access to. But HR made a mistake when I was required to do some company training, which granted me unlimited access to the company's computer files. As soon as I figured this out, I started to deep dive into historical records. First of all, the company was started by family friends of Adolf Hitler as the propaganda machine for the Nazi regime. After the fall of that regime, the company decided to do exactly the same type of work throughout the world and started growing their corporate footprint to cover the entire globe. Now they own over 95% of the book publishing companies in the world. More than 60% of the newspapers, hard copy and online, over 70% of the broadcast news outlets, TV, online, streaming. Multiple Hollywood movie production companies, BMG Music Group, which owns many music production labels, and countless magazine production companies. The majority of other media outlets that are not owned by the company that I worked for are all owned by a single competitor. So, what you get is 2 worldviews maximum that are distributed to the masses. However, the boards of directors of these 2 main corporations are largely made up of individuals from the same families. The company that I worked for hand-picked Barack Obama while he was in high school and put him through college. They then published his books, marketed them, and funded his presidential campaign. I'm not sure what exactly they gained from any of this, but I found this information intriguing. I'm sure they have done this many times before, and I'm sure their direct competitor has done the same thing many times. What could they gain from having this much control, and where do they fit into the power paradigm? I'm honestly not sure what the answers to these questions are, but I'm sure it isn't good. Interesting. No surprise, and probably an easy one for all you sleuths to dig and get the receipts for that. You got anything else that you found out you want to share through me? I'm absolutely interested. Let it rip, man. Fire away. I'm hoping that times are about to turn around and all these monsters are about to get shit canned. I hope. Dirty, filthy bastards. Okay, one more, and then I might go back into some bushes over there and wait till dark over this trail. Sasquatch encounter ? Style email. Hey Steve, this is Jenny from Vancouver, Washington State. Something unusual happened to one of my adult sons and me August 2013. I would like someone who hunts opinion on what happened. My middle son and I took up backpacking together. We've gone out to the Gifford Pinchot and Hatfield, Mount Hood, Oregon area for years together. I wouldn't say we're experts, but we have walked enough trails together and slept on the ground enough to have a good handle on what is out there in the woods beyond our campfire. When I first started going out to sleep in the woods, every stick break would put me on high alert. Now I just lay down on my sleeping pad and fall asleep quickly. We 100% know what it sounds like and feels like when a human walks into our backpacking camp after dark. We 100% know what it sounds like and feels like when a big elk comes past our camp. It bugled actually, so cool. We 100% know what it feels like and sounds like when a black bear comes around too. And also pack horses. We aren't newbie backpackers. I have a feeling why what happened on the night of August 21st, 2013 happened. But that would make this experience kind of long for you to read if you share it. So I'll just give the bullet points and ask your opinion on this. This experience is like a popcorn shell stuck under my gum, even after several years. One night on the night I'm asking you about, we were in a 2-person Hubba Bubba tent. It has a vestibule on each side of the tent. We're set up on the side of a little lake that you backpack into for a few miles from the nearest trailhead. It was Thursday night, I think. We avoid going out on the weekends because we like the solitude of not meeting people on the trails or in the camps. When we took off 2 days before,
and there would be no other cars at the back country trail head. We'd planned to hike to another lake that was about 5 miles further back into the wilderness that day, but it was threatening to dump rain, and we had backpacked several trips that summer. I was tired. I asked my son if he would mind if I just stayed in the little camp we were in and relaxed. We never have done that before or since. Our routine is to walk, set up camp several miles away. Wash, rinse, repeat. But that day I said I wanted to just chill in this beautiful little spot for the night. We spent the night at a tiny lake above this one about half a mile away. He agreed, so we set up camp earlier in the day and just sat around talking and chilling. It was extremely quiet all day, and I noted a lack of elk/deer poop on the ground on that trip when we were hiking. It had been a big year for seeing elk and deer poop. I remember it on all of our backpacking trips that year. Anyway, a super quiet day all day. Oddly quiet, I remember. We're the only ones at the lake all day. At around 6:30 it started to rain. It had been threatening to all day, but started actually pitter-patter on the tent at around 6:30 p.m. It was August, so still light out. But on the edge of the light getting dimmer, we call it magic time. We had our trail dog with us, and all three of us got into the tent. I was on the right side, my son on the left, and the dog down on our feet. We hadn't hung our food bag yet. It was on my son's side under the vestibule. We were going to wait for the rain to lighten up and then hang it up in a tree like we always do. We were sitting quietly, chatting about the rain, and my son had gotten stung by a hornet on his left shoulder early in the day. He was aching a bit and was talked about that as I recall. The rain was starting to slowly let up when something interesting happened. We both hear and felt 4 very distinct, powerful, slow footfalls heading down the trail and right toward the area of our little backpacking tent that we were both zipped into side by side. Approximately starting maybe 60 feet away and closing to with maybe 20 feet of us, we heard/felt these footfalls. They're really, who knows the distance, it was close. It had definitely been advancing on us. This thing was off to the left side of the tent where I was. The footsteps stopped abruptly. We both instantly froze where we sat. I looked at my son and he whispered, "You heard that?" He reached for the bear mace and I said quietly back, "Big animal." The ground shook with each of the footfalls. Way too much to be an approaching human, and it was not a hoofed, 4-footed animal. We both knew that instantly in the moment. We sat waiting to see what its next move would be. Was it going to advance in on us where we were sitting in our little tent, or leave? I'm actually really proud of how we both kept our cool. The silence was terrifying. We had no idea what it or our next move would be, but we knew we were in a highly unusual situation. Truly, I was waiting for the brush to move or the snuffle of a bear. Bears, in our experience, are not on 2 feet and silent. There was a ton of huckleberry brush around all of us. There was a ton of huckleberry brush all around us. No animal that large would not brush against some brush. Not one time would we consider it human. Again, each step shook the ground like mini earthquakes. It felt like forever waiting to see what the next move would be. Maybe only 10 seconds had passed since it had stopped dead in its tracks not far from our little tent. It was completely silent. Even the rain had stopped. All our senses were on high alert, and fight or flight was kicking in. And this is where it really gets strange. There was a loud but dull whack against a tree one time. Then after about 2 more seconds of silence, there was an even louder, distinct, sharp sound of rocks being knocked together once from the opposite side of the tent. We now knew we were dealing with 2 things out there in the gathering darkness. What the hell? We waited completely still. Were they going to come in on us? The dog was completely frozen with us on high alert. We sat like that in the tent for about 3 minutes. It felt like a standoff when my son unzipped his side of the tent and threw the bag of food that was ready to be hung as far away from the tent as he could heave it. We had not said a word to each other and still thinking it had to be some kind of bear or something. That's all that made sense. But since when do bears go completely silent and signal and receive a signal? We knew instinctively there were signals. No pine cones falling from trees. That second signal had been a rock clap so loud it sounded like a gunshot that rolled over the lake. Whew. I knew I had to unzip the side of my tent and look out in the direction that the footfalls had advanced. Sorry. The direction that the footfalls and advanced. I slowly unzipped my side with dread and looked out into the dim light. It was not completely dark yet. There was nothing there. No movement or a sound of any kind. We put on our headlamps and got out of the tent like the Keystone Cops and hung the food bag. That's all we could think of. Get the food away from us. The dog would not get out of the tent with us. She's not a scared dog, but she stayed right in the tent. We got back in the tent. My son said, maybe we should pack out. Back to the truck. Was he crazy? That would mean going down in the full dark in the direction this thing had walked in on us. My response? I think we are into it to win it tonight. Stick right here is my vote. My son laid awake, pretty sure whatever it was. My son laid awake, pretty sure whatever it was would come back. He was going to be ready. I fell asleep. I think that's how I coped with the off-the-hook terror of the experience, oddly. Not another sound all night. We packed up at first light and went back to the truck. There were no footprints or tracks, and believe me, looked at first light. So here's what perplexes me. Number one, the heaviness of the thing advancing on 2 feet with giant stride. Number two, the signaling and answering signal. Number three, the complete silent retreat of both things that were out there. Not a sound, not a huff or a snuff or a brushed by bush. Very stealth retreat. If it had been someone hoaxing us, why bother to make all that happen within maybe 20 seconds from beginning to end and then nothing more? To hike in at almost dark to a backpacking camp in the middle of the week and bring something with you to make heavy footfalls and then just leave doesn't make sense. If we were hoaxed, they would have thrown stuff at us and bugged for a while, I would think. So here's my question. Could this have been bear behavior? Because if it was bears, they walk on 2 feet with huge strides, signal and receive signals, are completely silent, and then melt away like ninjas into the night. We're still backpacking. I got us an inReach tracking device after that experience. No, yeah. We found out a guy had gone missing from that lake a few years earlier. They found his tent and all his gear. Nothing had been disturbed in his camp. He just vanished. Also, 1 week later, we found out a man and his 12-year-old son say they had a Sasquatch sighting at a different lake that is about 2 miles from the lake we were at. I wonder if we got a visit from some forest people. If so, I know personally they do send and receive signals. Thanks for your opinion on our experience, Jenny and Son. Jenny, I don't believe I read this before. You probably know what I'm going to say by now if you've been here for a while. You know what you saw. Sorry, you know what you heard. You know what it was. You know what it was. I know what it was. It wasn't a bear. You know it wasn't a bear. And you know it wasn't a human. But what we don't know is how the hell do they do that? Why? Why do they do that? That's the big question for me. Why? Why bother with us simple humans? I don't get that part. Why? Why bother with a woman and her son over in that tent over there? In the dark. Almost dark. Why even bother? You know what I mean? If you're that big and powerful and skilled and you can do all these things that we can't do, why not do it somewhere where it counts? You know what I mean? Go to Ottawa and do it inside that building. Go to DC and do it in that White House or something. Go some nasty ass lawyers, global powerful lawyers somewhere. Go terrorize the shit out of them. Doesn't ever seem to happen though, does it? It just seems to be the regular people getting all the weird experiences. Yeah. There you go. Hope you caught my opinion on it. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a human. You know what it was. What time is it? What if I should go? Well, let's see if I got a short one. These deer aren't going to come out until the last 5 minutes seeing light, so I got some time to kill before I sneak off down the mountain and wait by this trail, maybe. No subject in the title department on this. Hi, Steve. First, I want to thank you for all that you are and do. You have a very Buddhist way of living your life and taking care of others. Very commendable. I've always been fascinated by the Sasquatch topic and have spent lots of time in the forests of the Great Northwest. A few years ago, while getting to know a new client who had stated that she and her husband owned and operated one of the biggest privately owned logging operations in the state of Oregon, I asked her point blank, "Ever get reports of Bigfoot?" And she looked up while not lifting her head to size me up, assessing if I was sincere. She said, "Yes, all the time. If we reported each time one of our guys sees one, we wouldn't get any work done." And that was it. End of that topic. She was obviously over it, and you could certainly tell. Wow. My wife and I now have a home on a bit of acreage between Vancouver and Camus, Washington. C-A-M-U-S, Washington, that backs up to Camp Bonnieville. It's a former military munitions range of around 4,000 acres, surrounded by high barbed wire fencing. The public is not allowed in due to the unexploded ordnance danger. 2 summers ago, my brother-in-law, who was in his camp trailer on our land, asked if we had heard the howling guttural scream he had heard the night before. After we watched and listened to many recordings on YouTube in an effort to narrow it down, he sheepishly concluded he had more than likely heard a Sasquatch. Last summer, our renter in the apartment we have on the property was in the upstairs bedroom with the window open. She was in a very deep state of depression and crying, wailing, that deep, uncontrolled despair that reverberates in your soul. She was incredibly loud. Suddenly, her dog, that is normally overprotective of her, was literally trying to crawl under her and whining while paying attention to the open window. She then heard it, that deep, guttural screaming again, very loud. And there we were, her wailing and it screaming. She stated that it seemed to be responding to her depth of wailing and her with a corresponding depth of howling, like it felt her pain. Crazy enough, it seemed to help her refocus herself away from her despair enough to calm down a bit. I find myself sleeping with the windows open more and my eyes on the tree line. Rory Craner, Vancouver, Washington. Thanks for the email, Rory. Man, that poor woman. You can hear her wailing. Wow, that's gotta suck. Alone with your dog at home, scream crying. She needs some help. Some kind of support. Big time. Hope she's okay now and she got over all that dark shit. That's not good. That causes cancer, that shit. Yeah, I heard there was a logging outfit in Louisiana. And apparently they told all their employees if they say anything about Bigfoot or Sasquatch where they're working, they'd be fired. Probably scared they're going to lose the contract, right? I know of my superhero ladies, they said some loggers shut down near where their original home was. They shut down a whole area for logging due to being harassed. They shut her down, never did get logged. I've heard of a few places where the loggers went, "Oh, we're out of here," because of these people, these beings. They shut her down. That's all she wrote. Surprised that lady admitted it to you. Be interesting to hear some of her stories. Maybe throw this video to her. Maybe email it to her and see if she'll listen to it. maybe who knows, maybe it'll be enough to knee-jerk her into sharing some information, some knowledge with us, maybe, right? Or maybe some of those vloggers. Well, they're probably all watching the channel anyway. Anyway, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go get myself in a position down the mountain. I've seen a few scrapes and big prints. The majority of the action on this whole side hill is down this one little corner, so it's late now. It's gonna take me about half an hour to get back to the truck after I'm done, and then, I don't know, an hour to get back to where I'm staying. And then I'm gonna get up in the morning and do it again. And again, and again, and again. I really need 2 deer. I'm not leaving without 2 deer. I gotta get a whitetail, I gotta get a mule deer. One of them's gonna go all to sausages, and the other one's all gonna go into jars. I have to get them. I just really, 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 really hope I find 2 big, bold, mature, monstrous bucks. Here we go. Fingers crossed. Share my story, howtohunt.com.